Hey, coming on in a few seconds. Hey everyone, thanks for waiting. I'm going to talk about some of what my clients are doing and how you can reset a lot of your thoughts and goals in real estate to be a lot more obtainable than sometimes you read these outstanding, outrageous stories and we think real estate investing isn't for us. If it's not someone telling us to invest in a high-priced market for $100 a month that costs $200,000, which for some people, putting $40,000 down for something that cash flows modestly just isn't working, but that is literally standard advice. I get Facebook ads every day with people who are like, yeah, 200 in cash flow is great, or 100, or, buy where you can see it. And all of it's just not applicable. When I work with people, buying where they live just is not an option. If it was an option, everyone would be doing it, but it clearly is not. And a lot of my clients have plans to retire in 10 years, and we've actually step by step gotten them through that point with an investment plan. And I just wanted to say two things before I sort of go into details about that. And that is, retirement can be anything you want. I'm talking about the sort of retirement where it is, maybe you're making anywhere from $3,000, $4,000 a month. You have 4 to 5 fully paid off properties. Now, it's not going to replace your income you're making if you're making 80 plus thousand a year. However, for a lot of people, that's enough to give you the financial freedom to then do what you actually want. And sometimes some of us just want to work a retail job. Sometimes some of us just want to work at a local library. It don't bother me and let me read my romance novels, right? Sometimes what you want doesn't have to be this big thing. Some of you guys just want to go overseas and care for people more. So the type of retirement I'm talking about is, it's more like semi-retired. You still can work because you're a worker and you have that need, but it's not, it's not like a $40,000 a month thing. Like the people I work with, it's more practical. They're not starting off with money that will give them $40,000 a month in real estate investing. They're not starting off with the social capital or the social network of people where it's like, oh yeah, within 2 months I was making $50,000 a month in income. Now that is definitely possible if you have the backing and financials, and if you have the kind of social circle and social capital where you can raise that sort of money very easily to do a very big, large syndication deal. So it is possible, but the people I tend to work with, it's a little bit more modest, and they're okay with the 7 to 10 year plan for retirement. And so it's just something to put out there. Sometimes I think it's a lot of noise when you hear these really big numbers. It stops people from moving forward. I know when I heard these big numbers, 0 to 180 units in 3 months, I'm like, I don't even feel like doing something like that. I don't even want to do that. There's nothing inside me that says I want to do all that and try to do it, because it may not even work. And it sounds like a lot to do, and then in the end there's 3 months gone. Some of us just don't even have that desire. So a lot of my clients are on a very modest timeline. Now some of them can buy one house a year, although a lot of my clients can buy 2, 3, 4 properties a year. But it's just something to think about, like, what do you do when you hit the $3,000, $4,000 mark? And most of them say that they can stop doing the corporate job that pays the bill but isn't necessarily their passion. For maybe 1 out of 5, like 20% of my clients, they actually love what they do. So that's cool. So this is for the other 80%. So am I really clear who this is for? If this is you, I just wanted to go through this on what this can really look like. And so I got a few numbers, but I don't want you to get caught up on these numbers I'm going to show you. They're just a guide and they're loose, right? So and the other point before I get to the numbers as well is for people to have a different perspective on you know, how much do you need in retirement, and yeah, just, you know, how to get to that number. And everyone's been talking about the 30 years. So this was actually, everyone talks about 30 years, 30 years, 30 years. 30 years you get a retirement. 30 years you get a golden balloon. 30 years you get a gold watch. Like, first of all, that's not even happening. We don't get retirements anymore unless you're a government worker or a teacher. And even then, sometimes people look at how much money they're putting away for it and don't know what the payoff is. And even then, I know I've seen if the stock market crashes when you come out, a lot of these retirement funds are connected to that. And you can take a really big hit. I mean, like, we're just coming due to where a lot of employees unions have a lot of people getting in retirement, and we're going to start seeing what happens when their portfolios do not match what the input was for the last 15 to 23 years of these people's lives, right? And so in our American culture, we're like 30 years, that's it. But what I'd like to start saying to people now, like, why can't it be 10 years? Like, as a young person, the idea of, okay, work and gather this and build this sort of portfolio and cash flow for 10 years, and then you're free to do what you want. I just think it's like an easier thing for a young person to take hold of, and it's more a better sell than what we've been given and shoved down our throats. And I'm thinking, you know, why don't we start talking about what's the 10-year mark for I can be semi-retired and do what I want and have an income. Or do some part-time job that keeps me in slight benefits, but I only work 10 to 12, 20 hours a week, and the other hours I do volunteer work. So it's just something else to go. Let's get out of this 30-year thing and start talking about 10, because when I'm 26 years old, I can think of a 10-year plan, right? I can think, all right, 26 and by 36, you have this. And I'm going to show you some of what my clients have done and what we mapped out. Now, it's not like brain surgery or anything, but it's interesting when you just take the time to map this out, how to hit that target goal and what it looks like, how it's just calming. It's just like stress relieving for people. And that's why I wanted to share it with you today, so you can see that this is a reality, and get rid of 30 years and start going, how can I make a 10-year commitment? Because if you're 35, 10 years is doable. I worked with one client where I started this. They've all been in their 50s. They were like, I'm 55. So this is 65. Like, we really laid this out. I had a client who already had 5 houses. So it was just looking at that payoff schedule for her to hit where she wanted to be to supplement whatever 401k stuff that she did. Right? And so it's just a different mindset that even when you're older, you can do 10 years. If you're 70, you can, well, not 70. Well, you know, honestly, you probably can. But if you're like older and you were worried about your 401k being hit and it wasn't as full as you want, this is just a more concrete method of doing it. So I'm just going to briefly show it to you. This is going to be a shorter live today. I just wanted to do a little coaching session. But yeah, if you have any questions before I sort of show you really quickly, don't get caught up on the numbers, what we're doing. And hey, Black Real Estate Detroit, buy Black the Block. Thank you for showing up. This is for people like you and your group. Hey, Smith, thank you. D, I'm glad you like my video blogs. I used to call myself a blogger. Now I just say real estate investor. Hey, David, I hope you like this one. Right? It's not a race. Personal financial freedom. Yes, David. Every time I get on, David just feels my energy. So yes, he's like, it's not a race, and I know there's some big numbers out there, and it can be really intimidating in a real way when the only advice you get is like some stuff you just don't want to do. Like, that doesn't even sound fun. Like, it don't sound good, don't sound fun, and it's so big, and the numbers are so high. It's just not realistic for the 80% of people who are looking for real answers. And so that's why I wanted to bring it, because I wanted like an 80% answer that you can do. So, let me see. Hey, Soul Snatcher on Periscope. How you doing? So yeah, so let's just briefly. This is just briefly going over the numbers. This is not supposed to be. Let me see. Yeah, this isn't supposed to be super concrete. When I get clients, we'll look and see if they already, because I work with experienced and new investors. They just want more cash flow, getting this lower price range a little bit more smartly and strategically. So we always have to look at what their current assets is. So I just want to show you some of the stuff we've gone over that is real, it's legitimate, and it makes sense. And everyone, at the end of this, I want everyone to be talking about, everyone who's out there, everyone who wants to invest, everyone who thinks it's this long road ahead. I want all of you guys to know that this is really possible. It's in alignment for you. You can do it. It's, and 10 years is what everyone's goal should be at this stage in age. And I don't care if it's an online way of money or this. So that's sort of what the end result of all this is. So I just want to show you. Now, these numbers are not exact. When I get clients, we know exactly what we break it down by what's your mortgage amount, the payoff schedule. But I just wanted to give you like an in general. So this is assuming $400 in cash flow. I have one that I did for $350 in cash flow, but you know what? This is not to get caught up in the numbers. This is purely for you to see that it's possible without anyone exaggerating, right? Don't get caught up in this. It's not a big deal. It's per person, because sometimes this is like, maybe you get 11, one client I had, she had 4 houses, one got 1,100, one got 700, one got 800 in rent. So of course they were different because we had to scale up and down and decide which ones do we pay off first, second, and third, right? But this is an avenue some of my clients are taking. So we're in a 10-year roadmap. We are a 10-year hit this target, right? And it's not replacing the income, but for the people I work with, they can save about 10 to 15,000 a year. They, scaling very quickly just isn't in the cards, but this is very real and concrete. So it's 2019 now. So if you're on the slower end of things, maybe in 5 years from now, by 2024, you have 5 houses, each have $400 in cash flow. I just did a video live on, what to expect in cash flow in the Northeast. 400 plus is easy. In the Midwest, you have to look, it's 350 to 400. And then in the South, it's more like 300, 250 to 300 is the cash flow you can expect if you stay down there. So we're just going with 400 because the math is easy, right? So yeah, 2024, you have 5 years to buy 5 houses. You buy 1 house a year. Maybe all you can save up is $12K a year. You and your wife, you're dedicated. You're like, we can build our portfolio 1 house at a time. We just don't have thousands and thousands of dollars, but this is what we can do. And we're a middle income family. We got kids, but this is what we can put away for our dream to be a little bit more free, right? And so say you have $2,000 after expenses in cash flow. That means you put away for capital expenditures, you put away for possible maintenance, which is anywhere from 15 to 25%. And this is what you have left over. It is doable. Happens every day. So maybe you pay off house number 1. If it was $50,000 house, you put 10% down, it's a $40K mortgage. So we're assuming all of these are $50,000 houses, which is very extremely reasonable depending on where you are in the country and where you want to invest. And so if it was $50,000, 20% down is $10,000. So then you have $40,000 left. And you'll notice the numbers are going down because I'll get to that later. So don't get caught up in the numbers. So say on the first house you have $40,000 left of the mortgage, okay? Let's just keep it simple. I know what I'm talking about, but for now we're just going to keep it simple. So pay off house number 1, $40,000 mortgage, $2,000 in cash flow. Now, this is the plan where we go, okay, we got our 5 houses. Now let's start aggressively paying off all the houses until we get the cash flow that we are comfortable with and want, so we can get on to semi-retirement or living off of one income. One person works, the other person follows their dream that they've been trying to have for years, but they've been chained to their job, right? So house number 1, it's 2024, $40,000, $2,000 a month, takes about 23 months. So then it's 2026, and say the mortgage and all the expenses and capital expenditures came out to $400, you add that in, right? So now it's $2,400. So pay off house number 2, I say it's $30K now because for 10 years you're paying off, $400, so that's about $10,000 that you paid it down. So now house number 2, about $30K now on the mortgage because it's being paid down every single year, even as you're paying off the first. and that one's 12 months by 2027, early 2027. Think you'd add 400 because now you don't have all those expenses going towards your mortgage for that second house. It can now goes towards the third. So it's definitely a snowball effect with the houses. Very simple. Like I said, the numbers change based on reality. So keep this simple. When you ask me questions, make sure it's a simple question because, of course, this will change per person and per house and how much they actually have in a mortgage. And this is just assuming they were all 50K at purchase time, and every single year that you pay them down, by the time you get to paying off that particular property, it's already been paid down quite a bit because it's been 3, 4, or 5 years before you get to looking at it and targeting it. Okay, hope that makes sense. Pay off house number 3, it's about 25K now because it's been about 4 years or 3 years. And now it's 2,800 in cash flow that you have. So about 8 months to pay it off. Pay off house number 4, now it's about 20K because, it's been about 4 years and you paid 40, you've been paying it down each year. 3,200, we just added the 400 once you paid off house number 3. So pay off house number 4 in 7 months. Pay off house number 5, say it's down to 15K. And, now it's 3,600, you pay off in 5 months. Now, this is very general. This is very broad. You're going to have different expenses come up that might be more than the 25% you've been putting away for capital expenditures. But it just goes to show that this is sort of like one way that you can get to financial freedom that really works for the kind of people who seek me out, which is, I'm always going to say, their first time homeowners, their first time college, their first time everything. And so it really is just a quick way. And the reason I didn't stick on the numbers, because I know you guys are going to be like, hey, it's basically you pay, you take all the cash flow, you pay one house off. Once you pay that house off, you take the extra money that you now have available, pay the second house off. All right, and then you take the money that's now available. It's the snowball effect for this. But these are like real numbers that we use because my clients, like I said, I had one in Kansas City. It was $1,100 for one property, $900 for this property, $700 for this property. And we went one by one and we literally mapped it all out. And within 9, and she was going to buy some more houses, but we had within like this 8.5 year mark, they were fully paid off, bringing her the income that she felt very comfortable with, supplementing her 401k income. And it's just something that I wanted to share because we really need to change the narrative, and I want us to expect better than 30 years before we can have our life back and do the things that we are here to do in life. We really need, it wasn't until I got rental properties that I had the passive income, instability, and an asset that made money, that accumulated appreciation, that I was able to finally go off and find, what my true calling and purpose is. And I know so many of us out there need it. And so if we change the situation from 30 to 10, I just felt like, and I noticed for my clients, it was just so much more attainable and so much easier than all these other things. Now, some of my clients were like, yeah, once I get 5, then I'm going to sell a couple and then put down on a 7-unit complex and get this, right? Like some of you guys are like, I'm never stopping till I get to 20,000 because that's how much I want. That is cool, right? I'm talking about the people who are okay with more of a modest approach. They have a modest income, but they still want to hit this deadline. So not all of my advice is necessarily for everyone, which is why I'm being very clear up front about who this advice really seems to resonate with. And it's just people who are a little bit older who are like, I need an 8-year plan because in their minds they can handle 8 years of maybe not being themselves at work or being overlooked or just not being in the position they want or something that's really, really tough day in, day out before they're like, all right, that gives me enough room to be who I want to be. So yeah, it was just a really quick thing. Do you guys have any questions? I'm reading the chat now. I was not before because I was on a different screen. Okay, let me go back up to read up the comments. Thanks for your time and knowledge. Thank you, Adrian. Great information. Love your channel. Thank you, Chantel. D. Powell is, I'm working on 2 properties now. Hope to close on one in the next month or so. Congratulations. Where are you finding 40K properties? Well, it's 50K. You put 10% down, 20% down, so it'll be a $40,000 mortgage, right? And they're all over. Like I said, I have a large platform. This is going to be seen by thousands. I don't put particular markets down because you guys will swoop on it like vultures. So I usually just sort of leave that to my clients and help them. Please post to your site. Love to have a copy of this great Oh, cool. Okay. I didn't know it would go over that well. Thank you for breaking down the new definition of yes! I've been saying this for years, right? Tell me, Mr. Magic, what your idea of retirement, because I think we need to stop this conversation, and the conversation needs to be reformatted like what I'm saying. And if you don't have any ideas, instead of saying how it's not possible, I want to hear, like, how can it be possible? Because I just gave you one, and I believe in it. I know I'm semi-retired. Awesome video. Thank you, Joseph. Great content thus far. Thank you, Joseph. It is a calling and a spiritual gift, and I am sharing it with the world. You better say that again, Lisa. Thank you, Ryan. What are your thoughts on the Atlanta market? It's good. It's very expensive. It's really good for appreciation. So if you get in there, your property is going to explode. I think if you look at the Census Bureau's data, it is off the charts in how much it's growing. So it's definitely good for appreciation and not then, oh, good. Thank you, Joseph. Joseph just slang me a $5. Thank you. I'll take it. Great content. Joseph says, I'm 30 and wouldn't mind following something like this. Yes, my clients are doing this, and it's just a completely different conversation. And I hope when you guys go out, like, let's have this conversation, right? And it just needs to change. We can't be working forever like that. I don't think it's right. James, well, my clients do it every day. They can say if you want, but like I said, I told you guys about Richmond and a couple of other properties. You guys just killed it, so I don't do that anymore. And my clients do it every day. So, sorry. Nope, not rural, not telling ya. But I have a couple of groups. I have the Investing Made Easy. I have the Level 2 Sub 30K Mastermind group for my group coaching and one-on-one clients. And they have all, like, all of them have different properties that they've been investing in. So if you're in that group, if you become one of my coaching clients, I will go ahead and place you in that group. And then in that group, because it is a little bit closed, there's about 100 people in it, then if you ask the question, they're going to be more, you know, likely to share because it's people who are serious and they have a feel for and who've worked with me. I just told you. Oh, you can do that. You put someone in timeout. I just told you. I just told you, James, why I couldn't. I don't know if you didn't understand me. 30 years is done. It is up to us to make our retirement. It's more like semi-retirement with freedom. Yeah, and honestly, a lot of us don't just not want to work. We have too much to give the world to not work. So this whole early retirement, I literally mean it to mean, I do not. I sold it. I really literally mean it to be like enough money to do what you actually want, which may be nothing or maybe something. Ricardo Carey. Oh, how difficult. You know what? It depends on what part of the country you're in, right? It depends on the cost of you to travel and local flights, right? So it does depend on where you're at. If you are in Pennsylvania, it's going to be different than if you're in California. You know, it might be one town away in the Northeast, but in California, you'd have to get on a flight, which is okay, right, if you pick the right place. But I would say, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say how easy it is. Difficulty. That's a weird way of saying it. It is easier for me to invest out of town than it is locally. I mean, outside of the travel, which to me, I don't even think about it. It's like, oh, you just got to drive an hour and a half that way, so go drive, get this money, make it every month, and then if you set it up right, you don't even have to go back to those properties if you don't want, because you'll have your management team go in and do the inspections. So I honestly think it's the same amount of easiness. I just know that because I do it out of town, I have more metrics and systems set in place that if I would invest locally, I probably wouldn't be as diligent on. So I find that you do a greater job of vetting everything about the location. Yeah, you do a better job of vetting everything about the location when it is out of state, much more than if it was local. So there's going to be some trends that'll catch you by surprise, and you'll be like, what? I didn't know that. Whereas if you do it out of state, you've already accounted for it. So I would say it's easier out of state sometimes as far as doing due diligence. All right. You want to retire this year? Do it, bro. Oh, D said he found 2 properties, 30K each in rural areas. Who said something else? Lexus, I think you said something. Oh, great book. I'm glad you liked it. Thank you, ma'am. I worked real hard on that one. Just finished your book, Fabio. Love the read. Taking notes for the book to search at the recommended flight distance. Yes. Any advice for Native California? Central Coast Native. Yeah, just focus on the Midwest, and Frontier Airlines has some great flights for you out of LAX. Thanks. Bought a duplex in October and still haven't seen it yet. Oh, okay. Okay. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but I like the balls on you for doing that. So he pays a property manager 10%, which is what I pay. You may manage it yourself. Okay, so Bo, go ahead and tell us how it's been for you. Just put a little like, how did you feel comfortable about buying it like that? In this price range, I don't want you doing it sight unseen just because looks and pictures can be a little deceiving, and you need to get an energy for the house and the neighborhood. I like that, Lisa. You have options, realistic achievements, and support for folks that are involved with you. Yes, absolutely. I mean, you have to. You got to take care of your clients, right? This isn't a game. How do you find second property for rentals? The same way I find the first property. Sometimes a market becomes like Richmond. I can't even buy at a reasonable price anymore. I told everyone about it, and they purchased there like crazy. So I've had to look at other places, but I sort of go into detail on that step by step in my rental income system course and training, which I give to my coaching clients and my group coaching clients. Mona, yes, definitely doable. Ronnie. Love your work and the information you provide for us. This may be a question for another day, but how do you determine what out-of-state markets to get in where your current market may not be doing it for you? I literally have training. It's sort of a process of looking at where you're at, what are the available markets you can fly to and drive to, and then one by one looking to see which of the indicators support you and what you're trying to build, what kind of houses you want to build, and what kind of neighborhoods you want to be in. So it's just more of a systematic listing them and then checking to see which ones were. I have training on investing out of state training that goes in details. There's so many details that I was going to make this a quick one, so I can't give you a 3-hour training like right now. So that's why I'm not going into as much detail. So any other questions? Okay. What are your thoughts on multifamily? They're great, especially if you're going to be out of state like California's. I definitely want you to look at markets that have more multifamilies, which tends to be the Midwest and the Northeast. All right, I'm with that. Definitely. If it's something where like it's not as much pressure for you, then choose whatever you'd like, William. Hal's looking for something in Florida because closing on other properties. I need a vacation place for getaways. Well, good luck. Florida cash flow is not necessarily high, but if you can go to the beach, it'd be worth it for me. Lisa, is your book an ebook or hard copy? It can be paperback or an ebook. I'm actually going to get a microphone so I can do an Audible version and do the Audible myself. Thank you, Fabio, for answering. Bo Thornton, so far so good. He's the one who bought a sight unseen, but he's had it since October. I used to actually live in the area and have relatives that helped me vet. Oh, very good, very good. So Bo didn't go see the property, but he has relatives that helped him go look for it in consultation with the property manager. Felt very comfortable doing it. M. Dickens, smart woman, love your knowledge and sharing. Thank you. Amazon for the book? Sure. So I'm going to get off so it doesn't look like I have any more questions. If that link might not work, I put an extra E. Rental. It's bit.ly, bit.ly/rental property owner. Now let me check and make sure that works. Sorry if it looks like I'm just looking off screen. I gotta, in a flawless live stream, your prompter would have all the questions right in front of you, but it's just that is the right one. Yeah, and so I have not flipped houses. I will say, and sometimes you get a little like, oh, I can do it, but there's just such a learning curve on what that after resale value is, because I know I have a lot of flippers who aren't that good at it. You know what I mean? Because they think the ARV is going to be this. It's not. and they make money, but it's like after 3 months worth of work, it's like $6,000, and which is cool, right? But it's a lot of stress for $6,000. So I know, I know that it's not as simple as HGTV makes it seem. One of your goals is, Joshua Hill says one of his goals is to house hack a quadruplex in the South. Yeah, they do have quads in the South, just for greater cash flow, but I noticed options are few, not in the right location, or too costly to repair on Realtor.com. Any advice? I would go with local realty sites versus the national realty sites to get deals, and I'd look at for sale by owner. You can't, I mean, the main realty sites are good, but you want to get those gems that may not be listed. That's standard operating procedure for me and my clients. Can we have Samuel L. Jackson read your gem? David said, can Samuel L. Jackson read my book? That's great. Ronnie said, that's great. I'll seek out your other training on out-of-state investing. Thanks so much. You're welcome, dude. Yeah, so that is it. That's doable. Let's change the conversation for all of our sake. We just can't do this anymore. We just can't. 30 years isn't working. We don't know if we're going to come outside of a Walmart and get the cops. Like, we just don't know anymore. And you guys know I'm about to sell the house I'm currently in. We do Airbnb, so we're going to miss out on that, but we're going to get rid of, like, the larger chunks of our overhead expenses, and we're going to live abroad. And, $3,200, $3,600 a month, well, maybe you can fulfill that dream of living 6 years, 6 months out of the year in Italy or England or Ghana or Africa, right? Like those are experiences I think we should be living. And let's talk about 10 years. Now, no, this is not a 1-year plan. The people I work with don't have that kind of money. I don't work with people who have $400,000 in the bank. I mean, occasionally, but that's not the majority. That's 1%. The other people have, like, I got 15,000. So when you have 15, this is like the realistic plan that we do. And it's a realistic plan. It is something that people can do. And it's just I want you to feel it in your heart, see if it makes sense to you, and let's start talking about, like, that plan. 10 years to X, 10 years to that. So yeah, that's what I work with. It's more reasonable and realistic, I think, but it just depends on you and where you're at. So I'm going to jump off. If you guys like, I'd love to work with you guys. I do receive coaching clients or give consultations. And if you want to work with me in building your portfolio, I'd love to help you. It is, especially if I talk to you and we have a really good rapport and we click. I don't just work with anyone, but most of 95% of y'all are really cool, so it's okay. I'm just real sensitive about my time and how much I invest. I gotta, make sure I like you, but I like 99% of the people I work with. So if you'd like, you can fill out an application and have a strategy session, or so let me write down the link, fill out an application, and we can work together. If you'd like, if you got this on lock, you're good. If not, love to work with you. And some of you guys that are on, I already have worked with you. Thank you guys so much for still supporting me and still showing up to my calls, my videos and lives, just to see what's new is going on. And everything I do now, and the advice you're going to get from me is going to be different than any other, like a lot of the other people who do lives in real estate investing, because this isn't necessarily about just my journey. It's what I share now. It's about 5-6 years of helping people build their portfolios. So the responses and information is going to be different because it's just more real life. It is the realest real life you're going to get. So that's just sort of the difference. Like, this isn't just my story. I have like a modest portfolio. And I'm selling it, right? So I can go overseas, but keeping the good ones. But it's about more than that. Once you start helping the public and real people, you get these real stories. You're a real doctor, you're a teacher, you're an IT worker, whatever you might be, but you start getting these real stories, these real funds. How can I make it happen? And if you're scalable and adaptable and you're flexible, all of a sudden that cookie cutter stuff goes out the window. We can make these custom built solutions for you. And so when I get on and talk, it's about like, these are what some of the custom built solutions are. So you can start seeing and understanding it's a lot more than maybe what you've seen or read. right? So I hope you appreciate like that extra level of what real people are doing, and I just hope it inspires you to get started, because this is so nice. It feels good, and everyone should feel this good. And you can't, not everyone necessarily can right now, but you can within, I think, a reasonable amount of time. And some of you guys can get those 5 houses within 2 years, right? And so you're on a faster playback plan than others. So you're like on maybe a 7-year or a 6-year payoff period, right? And that's just beautiful, and your blessings that if you are. So I'm going to hop off with that. If you want to work, you can go to affordablerealestateinvestments.com/details if you'd like to. Outside of that, thank you so much for taking the time and listening to my event. Have a great night.